Peace never lasts long in West Texas. Just when Tommy Norris finally lets himself breathe, the ground beneath him starts to crack again. Season 3 of Landman isn't about survival anymore. It's about consequences. Every deal, every favor, every mistake is coming back with interest. And this time, walking away might be more dangerous than staying in the fight. Season 3 begins in a strange, quiet place for Tommy Norris. For the first time in years, he isn't answering to a boardroom, a billionaire, or a collapsing company. MTX is no longer his burden. Monty is gone. Cammy made her choice. And Tommy walked away with nothing but his name, his family, and a dangerous amount of freedom. On the surface, it looks like a fresh start. But Landman has never been a story that rewards clean endings. It's a story that punishes comfort. CTT oil exploration in cattle is small, personal, and fragile. That's exactly why it matters so much to Tommy. This isn't just a business. It's his last stand. For the first time, he's not protecting someone else's empire. He's protecting his own blood. Cooper's instinct for refineries is now the foundation of the company, not just a useful talent. And that makes Cooper more valuable than ever, not just to Tommy, but to people who see gifted sons as leverage instead of family. Tommy tells himself this is different. No politics. No sharks. No favors owed. But deep down he knows better. Oil doesn't care about good intentions. The land doesn't forget who bled on it. And West Texas has a way of pulling men back into the same storms they swear they escaped. Every phone call feels heavier now because there's no shield between him and the fallout. If something goes wrong, it doesn't land on a corporation. It lands on his family. Meanwhile, the ghost of MTX still looms large. Cammy didn't fire Tommy to fail. She fired him to win. The offshore rig is still drilling, still gambling with millions, and still racing against time. That decision split their lives in two, but it also tied them together in a more dangerous way. If the rig strikes oil, Cammy's power grows overnight. If it doesn't, her fall could drag everyone down with her. Either way, Tommy can't pretend it doesn't affect him. Their war isn't loud yet, but it's coming. And then there's Galino. He never left. He never rushes. He watches. He waits. Season 3 makes it clear that Galino isn't interested in quick wins. He's interested in ownership. Ownership of deals, of people, of futures. His connection to Tommy is unfinished business, and unfinished business is the most dangerous kind. Tommy may believe he chose family over favors, but Galino doesn't see it that way. To him, debts don't disappear. They mature. What makes this moment so tense is that Tommy is finally happy in a quiet, careful way. He laughs more. He listens. He feels present with his kids. And Landman has taught us something very clearly over 2 seasons. Happiness is not a safe place to stand. It's a signal. A pause before impact. Season 3 doesn't rush into chaos. It lets Tommy settle just long enough to remind us what he has to lose. This is no longer a story about whether Tommy can start over. He already did. The real question is darker and far more interesting. Was starting over an act of courage, or did it put a target on everyone he loves? And as the oil starts moving, the deals start closing, and the past starts knocking louder, one thing becomes impossible to ignore. In West Texas, the land always collects its DUE.AS. Season 3 moves forward. The illusion of control begins to fade fast. Tommy may be free from MTX, but freedom comes with exposure. Every risk now lands directly on him, and every mistake carries his family's name. CTT oil exploration in cattle is growing slowly, but growth in this world attracts attention. Banks start asking questions. Landowners start pushing harder, and competitors start circling, trying to figure out how a small family operation suddenly became dangerous. Cooper's role becomes heavier with every episode. His natural understanding of refineries is no longer just impressive. It's strategic. People notice how quickly problems disappear when he's involved. They notice how accurate his instincts are. And in the oil business, talent like that is never left alone for long. What should be Cooper's future begins to feel like a trap forming around him. Tommy sees it happening, and the fear hits him harder than any threat ever aimed at himself. Protecting a son in this world is harder than surviving it. At the same time, Tommy is forced to confront a painful truth. Walking away from MTX didn't end his connection to Cammy. It transformed it. She is no longer his partner or equal. She is now his rival. Their shared history turns every interaction into a quiet standoff. Cammy's decisions with the offshore rig begin to feel more aggressive, more desperate. She isn't just chasing oil anymore. She's chasing validation. proof that firing Tommy was the right move. The offshore operation becomes a ticking bomb for everyone involved. Each delay raises the stakes. Each update tightens the tension. If oil is found, Cammy gains power that could reshape the entire region. If it fails, the collapse won't be contained. Investors, workers, and families will all feel the impact. And Tommy knows something Cammy doesn't want to admit. In this business, winning too big can be just as dangerous as losing. Galino's presence grows darker and more deliberate. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't rush. He offers help, connections, shortcuts. Exactly the kind of help Tommy promised himself he would never accept again. Galino understands that desperation doesn't always look like panic. Sometimes it looks like responsibility. A father trying to protect his son. A businessman trying to keep people employed. A man trying to avoid becoming the villain of his own story. Meanwhile, the emotional cracks inside the Norris family widen. Angela's search for stability becomes more urgent. She wants something solid in a world that never stops shifting. Cooper's relationship with Ariana moves closer to commitment. But commitment in this world comes with risk. Love becomes another pressure point, another thing that can be exploited. Even Annesley's growing independence carries tension, as Tommy realizes he can't shield his children forever without suffocating them. Season 3 makes one thing painfully clear. Power doesn't just corrupt. It isolates. The more Tommy tries to do the right thing, the more alone he becomes. Every choice forces him to weigh morality against survival. And the scariest part is that there are no clean answers left. Only consequences waiting to be triggered. By the end of this section of the story, the question is no longer who will win. It's who will pay the highest price when everything finally comes crashing down. By the time Season 3 reaches its midpoint, the past stops being a shadow and starts becoming a force. Tommy realizes that starting over did not erase his history. It only changed the angle from which it comes back to haunt him. Every decision he made in the early days of his career, every compromise he justified as necessary, now feels like a bill arriving all at once. Galino steps closer, not as an enemy but as an option. That is what makes him so dangerous. He understands Tommy better than Tommy wants to admit. He knows that Tommy doesn't fear violence or loss. He fears failing the people who depend on him. Galino offers solutions that look reasonable, even helpful, but each one tightens the grip just a little more. Season 3 slowly reveals that Galino has been positioning himself for a long time, waiting for Tommy to be alone enough to listen. CTT oil exploration and cattle reaches a turning point. A major opportunity appears, one that could secure the company's future or destroy it completely. The catch is simple and cruel. To move forward, Tommy has to accept help from people he doesn't trust or risk losing everything he has built. For the first time, Cooper openly questions whether this life is worth the cost. His talent, once a gift, now feels like a curse that keeps dragging him deeper into danger. Cammy's storyline grows more intense as the offshore rig reaches a critical phase. Pressure from investors, regulators, and unseen partners pushes her into making choices that echo Tommy's past mistakes. She becomes more guarded, more ruthless, and more isolated. The irony is impossible to ignore. In trying to prove she didn't need Tommy, she is slowly becoming him. And when their paths cross again, the tension isn't fueled by anger, but by recognition. Angela faces her own reckoning. Her longing for stability clashes with the reality of loving someone who lives in constant risk. She must decide whether she can accept a life built on uncertainty, or whether protecting herself means walking away. Season 3 doesn't treat her struggle as secondary. It shows how the oil business doesn't just break men in the field. It erodes families at the kitchen table. As the stakes rise, small choices begin to matter more than big ones. A conversation overheard. A favor accepted. A warning ignored. The season carefully builds the sense that something is coming, something unavoidable. Tommy starts to understand that the danger isn't one single enemy. It's the pattern he keeps repeating. The belief that he can outwork consequences if he just stays ahead long enough. By the end of this section, the tone of the season shifts. The quiet tension turns heavy. Lines are drawn, even if no one says it out loud. And Tommy finally asks himself the question he's been avoiding since the beginning. Is he building a future for his family, or is he teaching them how to survive a disaster he created? The answer doesn't come easily. And it doesn't come without a cost. As Season 3 moves toward its final stretch, everything Tommy has been trying to balance begins to collapse into one unavoidable truth. You can't choose which consequences come back to you. They arrive together, loud and unforgiving. The land doesn't care about intentions, and neither do the people who have been waiting for Tommy to slip. The offshore rig finally delivers its answer, and no matter the outcome, the damage is already done. Cammy's gamble reshapes the power structure around her, but it also exposes her. Allies turn cautious. Enemies grow bolder. What looked like victory starts to feel unstable, like standing on ground that could give way at any second. Her collision course with Tommy is no longer theoretical. It becomes personal, public, and impossible to avoid. Galino makes his final move not with force, but with timing. He understands that pressure creates honesty. When the walls close in, people reveal what they are willing to trade. For Tommy, the choice is brutal and simple. Protect the future of CTT Oil by accepting a deal that compromises everything he believes in, or walk away and risk watching his family's dream collapse. There is no version of this decision where everyone wins. Cooper steps out of Tommy's shadow in a way that changes their relationship forever. He no longer wants to be protected. He wants a voice. And that shift forces Tommy to face a hard reality. The same instincts that made him successful are now being inherited by his son. Season 3 asks whether that legacy is something to be proud of or something to break before it does more damage. Angela's arc reaches an emotional breaking point. Stability, love, and safety can't all exist in the same space anymore. She must decide whether standing by Tommy means losing herself or finally understanding the man he truly is. Her choice doesn't come with drama or shouting. It comes with quiet clarity, which makes it hurt even more. By the final moments, Landman brings the story back to its core theme. Power always comes with a price, and someone always pays it. Tommy stands in a place that looks familiar, but feels completely different. He didn't just survive Season 3. He was changed by it. Whatever peace he found at the end of Season 2 is gone, replaced by something heavier and more honest. Season 3 doesn't end by asking if Tommy can keep going. It asks something far more dangerous. After everything he's lost, everything he's compromised, and everything he's learned, does he even want to? Because in West Texas, the land never stops watching. And it never forgets who tried to outrun it.